Good morning. It's 10 a.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we've all had a chance to look at the agenda. Any changes to the agenda as listed?
None.
None.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll restate the agenda items. We'll have public input on non-agenda items. If you choose to do so, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Consent agenda, we have minutes, checks from both May General Fund and the Capital Improvement Funds. Unfinished business, we'll have an update on the new station administration projects. New business, save awards. We'll also have the feasibility study discussion, our mid-year budget presentation, and we'll finish up with the fire chief remarks, commissioner remarks, and we'll adjourn. At this time, do we have any public input on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we will move forward. Consent agenda. You see the items as listed. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Takes us down to unfinished business. Chief, update on the new station administration projects.
Yes, good morning, commissioners, public watching online, and people in the audience. On the station project, and it's going to freeze on me. Of course it is. Of course it is. There you go. Try this. So just an update on station design. We'll start with the new fire station first. You guys have seen some of the renderings. This is coming to be, we're getting pretty narrowed down on where we are as far as the building being situated on the property. You can see it's fronting Estero Boulevard, as we had talked about. You will come in, the trucks will come in off the bottom is Tropical Shores Way and provide access. These will be drive-through bays, so they'll come into the back of the building, be able to drive all the way through and out onto Estero Boulevard. The parking you see along the bottom of the building is actually under building parking. So those will be several spots, most likely used for staff, and it'll keep the cars sheltered a bit. We are still working on the final elevations across the front and the handicap parking spaces to make sure that all flows right with our ramp, ADA ramp requirements and whatnot. So that is the site plan. The renderings or the elevations are starting to take shape and shore up a bit. And just a little bit of background, on last Friday, we were able to take the current plans to the town and do a preliminary sit down with them and see if there were any red flags that popped up that we could address sooner than later. I'm happy to say that we're within the height requirements, we're within setbacks. So really no red flags identified. The only deviation from doing the zoning that we're looking at is the width of the driveway at Estero Boulevard. We'll probably have to have that deviation incorporated into the zoning when it goes in front of the LPA in the town. But all in all, it looks like a pretty clean plan, and they really didn't have many concerns. We talked a bit about stormwater, retention, runoff, and whatnot, and seem to be in good shape with the town. So that's the front elevation of the building, with the living area over on the left side. Just for reference, we were talking before the meeting about houses and everybody's elevating their houses. The living area for the firefighters will be somewhere between 20 and 21 feet above sea level, well above our floodplains. And all of our rooms that have the high dollar equipment and specialty equipment will be at 14 feet, which is 3 feet above the base flood elevation for this property. So. And then just the back elevation of the building, where we're at. We had some egress requirements as far as getting people out of the building. So one of the things we did is we're using one of the egress stairwells will be partially exterior. And that stairwell will also serve to give access to the roof where our mechanicals will be located. So it was a good dual purpose use of the stairwell on the back of the building. We are talking timeframes on the building and seem to be in good shape. We're running a tight timeframe, but we're still looking to be in front of the LPA and the town in time to get our permits in and hold to our October timeframe for groundbreaking. So all those pieces are in play and moving forward. One other nuance here that we looked at in coming down the boulevard from the north to the south is that turning onto Tropical Shores Way, you stop pretty far back because the turn lane narrows down to a point because of the bus stop. With us having the fire trucks coming and going, we're working with Letran to see if that bus stop northbound can be eliminated or relocated in order to take it out of that zone where we'll be stopping traffic and having the emergency vehicles come out. Initially, they seem, they understand the concept, and it looks like we might be able to work something out on that. So that's part of the process we're working through. And that's where we're at on the new fire station.
Great.
If there's any questions on that part?
Anybody? Questions? Discussion?
None.
Just one for me.
Got it.
Emergency light?
Yeah, so that's another component. When we say that emergency zone, what we're looking at is using, instead of having the big mast like we had in front of the Station 31, something similar to like what's down at Linnell. So a sign on the side of the road that we would control from within the building, and we would hit that button and those signs would turn red, saying, fire trucks. And one north of Tropical Shores, one south of Gulf Beach, so we can try and open up that whole area where we can make wide turns either way, depending on where we need to go. So that is also part of the scope of work with the civil engineers, and we're working through that at the same time.
What are your thoughts on seasonal traffic backups and trucks having to exit the station?
The good thing about doing doing the signs and the lights is that that's all programmable. So, we'll refine the timing when the station's ready to open, how long does it take to dress, when's the truck coming out, and we'll try and minimize as much as we can the red light in that area. What we'll also have to take into consideration is how long does it take standing traffic to actually start moving out of the way. So those factors are all play into it. It may require different timing for how early it turns red in season versus out of season, but typically these systems that will be installed for this will be programmable.
I didn't know if there was any option to mark the roadway as a non-backup area, I guess, for cars to sit idle in. I mean, not that they would obey it much like they do everything else.
Well,
on the
the
beach.
signs I assume, they'll have the fire truck logo
Right.
on them like you see when you're coming up to a fire station, and then some kind of flashing and then red light, when it'll turn red or go yellow and turn red like the ones on the mast do. So there will be some indication that, you're coming up on a fire station.
Okay, great.
What were we doing currently? I mean, because,
Station 31 had that big mast over the roadway to stop traffic.
but people still backed up there. It's kind of the same problem
Yeah.
that
It is.
we're going to experience.
It is. Yeah.
Is the roadway wide enough for them to swing out, if traffic is stopped, northbound, of course? But they make a space for the equipment to pass through, stop traffic. Is there enough space in that roadway to make that turn to go north or to go south? I don't know if there's a median in that area or if it's going to depend on
So-
the southbound traffic letting them out.
Right, and there is no median, so that's helpful. And right now, this is where the bus stop is. Now, there's no curbing the road is full width, it's 3 lanes wide.
Okay.
But it goes down to 2 lanes because the bus stop is carved out.
Right.
So if that goes away and we restripe it, we'll have a full middle lane.
Great.
And then if you see how wide the driveway is, the driveway's 50, 60 feet out at the road. So that'll give the ability for the vehicles to come out and start their turn while they're still on the driveway.
Okay.
So that'll help them get out into the roadway.
Great.
And of course, there'll be no vegetation or signage either side of the driveway, so the bucket of the big truck can swing, and they should have plenty of room to get out.
Good.
So,
Since we're in the weeds, would you go back to the previous slide, the rear elevation?
yes.
Is the stairwell, is that going to be steel and concrete?
It'll be durable to the weather, and what we're going to do, so that stairwell will front Tropical Shores, and we're looking to put some kind of privacy screening on it. But on the backside, probably keep it more industrial. So if we were to put ladders up against it or whatever, it'll be usable for that without damaging it. So we're talking, we don't know if it's going to be galvanized steel with poured tread, concrete
But
treads.
ladders can
Yes.
bounce off.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thanks, Chief.
Good. Thanks. And then I don't have any pictures of it, but on the administrative building over on Main Street, the building is being demolished. They're pretty much done with it and getting it cleaned up. The fines with the county they're set to be paid at closing, but they have to go. The county is going to have to finalize the demolition permit. It's going to have to go in front of either the zoning board or the county commission, I'm not sure, to finalize all those fines so that we can take the building with clear title. So I reiterated I happened to be out there on Monday, and the realtor for the sellers was out there, and we talked about it, and I made it clear to him that we will need a clear title before I come to the board, before we can close on the building. So that's probably going to back up closing by a couple weeks. We were going into this week thinking we were closing on this Friday, but it'll probably be another couple weeks before we actually get it done. So that property is moving forward, and we're getting everything cleaned up on it. It looks different over there, especially, I look at it every day coming over the bridge, and yeah, it changed the layout, so. That's where we're at with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Comments, questions, thoughts? Nothing? Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Takes us on to new business. First item we have is Save Awards.
Yes, and this is always exciting to do, and it's good to highlight our folks' service. So the Save Award is an award where we arrive on scene, we find a person and they are in cardiac arrest, and we are able to provide intervention and care, and those folks are able to recover, come out of the hospital under their own power, and keep living a productive life. So we have a group here today that I'd like to bring up to the podium. And rather than me giving the details of this particular event, I volunteered one of them to try and tell it first person. So come on up. Come on up, Sophie. Right.
Don't be shy.
Come join me, guys.
All right. So we got everybody in here. Chief Crow, come on, stand up. This is your crew. So I'm proud of everybody that's up here on, what was the date? Do you have it? Yes, I'm sorry, March 29th, 4408 Bay Beach Lane. We responded to a call for a person in cardiac arrest, and when you arrived on scene,
So we responded to the call, arrived on scene. When we got there, we noticed there's quite a distance to get to the scene because all the way out in the pickleball courts. But luckily, when we got out there, we saw bystanders were giving CPR. So we grabbed our gear, we jumped into action. And I know this crew, after working with them for quite some time now, we work really well together, and we knew our roles, we knew what we needed to get done. So we got to it and did all the care that we could, and we were seeing that we got pulses back. There were a couple times we went in and out. Once we got that final, all right, she's got pulses, we're headed to the hospital. And we knew that we needed to get her to the hospital. So we got her and took her out of the hospital, and she was able to recover. And I hear she got sent home and everything. So it was good all around. So, yeah.
very good. So
Just one-
congratulations to the whole team.
Great job.
Marlon Marin, he was lead on this
Yes.
call. So,
Just one addition to that call, the importance of bystander CPR,
Yes.
because I think that made, just like any other call that is successful, the difference. Considering the distance, the obstacles that we encountered in the beginning, but they were doing CPR, and I think that makes a huge difference in the importance of bystanders at least learning CPR and basic AED function in the community.
It's a big difference.
So,
Big
huge
importance.
difference.
5 or 6 minutes, and then your brain starts to decompensate, essentially. So it becomes harder and harder neurologically to come back after that 5 or 6 minute period, which you can imagine once we get the call, it takes probably
Right.
5 to 10 minutes to get there.
Great.
So They bring up a good point, it kind of reminds me. The agency has an AED program, and we encourage that for all the communities that have a large number of people who will come out and help educate on how to use AEDs. Chief Kraus in the past has put information on our website, it's still there, on resources to AED and the defibrillator. So if you have that in your community and you can grab that, it walks the layperson through putting the pads on the patient and providing that defibrillation to help the heart restart, if that's a possibility. So for the public that's watching, that program exists and there's information on our website for it. So,
Great.
congratulations to everybody.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have Tate right here on the top. Tate, congratulations. Sophie. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for being the one that come with Steve. Get us started. Romeo? Thanks, sir. Nice work. Marla, thank you for taking lead.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Seeing the successful outcome.
Thank you.
Will you come up and do a quick picture? Yeah. Come on up front.
Get all of us to stand in the background.
Yeah, if you're over 50, you get a black.
Put all of our folks in the center, and we'll move to the edges.
Bring the, you do? Larry, you want to move over towards the church?
Should we go this way? Let's go this way.
Just like that.
Are they blocking you out?
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Don't worry about it. The important people are in front. That's no problem.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good job. Thank you.
Yes, it has. You've been good.
I think everybody would agree, it's always good to see our folks recognized and their efforts. And, you know, this is one of many on the cardiac side. I know that you guys handle every shift, and the outcomes are typically really good, thanks to the expertise and training and dedication that you have to doing your jobs. So a personal thank you, having been on the other side of the cardiac issue. I can tell you it's important. It can sneak up on you. And I know the families and the community certainly appreciates everything you do. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Commissioner, just one more thing on that.
Yes, sir.
I think there is a cohesion to be recognized between the fact that our folks on our transport units and our folks on our fire units are working together every day.
Certainly.
For the sake of the community. There is a cohesion there when they're all working together as a team. They
Yeah.
practice as a team, and being able to have everybody together like that serves the community well.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Couldn't agree more.
And the defibrillator program we implemented 3 years ago,
At least.
2 years ago.
At least, yes.
And it was after a family member that I had was lost to cardiac arrest. And I noticed something in the community that this surprised me. Every corner on every block was a box with a defibrillator in. And I thought the availability of those was just amazing. And even though he wasn't able to be saved, the resource was there. So the program that the chief put together and Chief Kraus was instrumental in was basically giving our community members and organizations the ability to buy defibrillators at our cost instead of a retail market cost. So it makes them much more affordable for folks to go out and seek that. I don't know, do we have a defibrillator on site at the pickleball courts, or?
I don't believe there was one on site by the community.
But it's another one of those that highlights that,
Yes.
had it been there, it could have been another tool in the belt for the public to aid in helping us get this saved done. So look it up, call the folks at headquarters if you're interested, and they'll be happy to help.
Absolutely.
I purchased one about a year ago. I take it to the beach.
And there could be an opportunity too with our condos coming back online to, I bet you they don't know this is available to them.
probably.
So because we're kind of all talking together now still, perhaps we can put something together where it can get sent out to those condos so that they can each purchase one to have in their buildings. Because there's a lot of condos on this island, and that would spread those out and be available. Happy to assist with that, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, resorts and new buildings too, as they're
Yeah.
coming up. Maybe as, you know, I know you talk to a lot of them for inspections, maybe let them know it's available.
Yeah, I'll do a social media post for it.
That would be great, yeah, and I'm happy to help with that, so.
All right, next item on new business, presenting the firm for the feasibility study. Chief Worth.
Thank you. So we're here today, this is our action item on the agenda, and it is to give us authorization to go ahead with the top-ranked firm and try and negotiate an agreement for the study looking at the feasibility of merging between Fort Myers Beach and Iona-McGregor fire districts. So a little bit of background on this. Since back about February, we posted 4 firms, and we've gone through several steps to get where we are. And last month, we, as a selection committee made up of folks from Iona-McGregor and Fort Myers Beach, went through the proposals that were submitted by the qualified firms and ranked those proposals and came out with a top firm. So I asked Chief Comer with Iona-McGregor to be here today in case you guys had any questions, because they just had their board meeting last week and deliberated the exact same topic and then made their decision to move forward with the study. So I have Chief Comer here if you'd like. What I will say about the selection process is we had a couple firms, both very qualified. You probably know Fitch and Associate by our standard of cover we did a few years ago. They were one of the firms. And then the other firm was J. Angle Group, LLC, and they ended up being the top-ranked firm. And they have a very, they're very qualified for this type of study, not only because they have several people in the industry and they have folks that are specific for communications and specific for budget, but J. Angle is Jim Angle, and Jim started his career here in Fort Myers at South Trail Fire Department, our neighboring fire department, and came up through that agency and is now up in the Clearwater area, Central Florida area. But the group brings a lot of technical abilities and unique skills, being that he worked in this county, knowing the different fire departments. We're looking forward to their guidance and seeing how this plan works out.
Great.
Or how this study works out.
Chief Comer, would you mind giving us a little bit of a summary of maybe what your board talked about and concerns they may have had?
Absolutely.
Chief.
Is it here?
Greg, do we have a
Yes.
mic up there?
Hello. Thank you for having me today. Nice to see everybody. So our board met last week, and it was a much longer discussion than I anticipated. Probably about an hour. And I'll be honest, at one point I was wondering, is this going to go through? But we got there. And hindsight, it was good to hear the board have the conversation, to hear the expressions. And one thing I assured them was that we're not here by choice necessarily. We were put in this position, kind of backed in a corner. So this isn't a way for us to kind of take control of the future, at least for our agencies. And it doesn't mean we're committing to anything. We're just moving forward with the feasibility study. So it was good conversation. In the end, it unanimously passed for us to go ahead and move forward, assuming you guys make the same decision today. That's always the challenge. 2 chiefs, 2 boards, 2 attorneys, trying to come to the same decisions has been interesting, but we're making it work. We're getting there. So assuming you make the same decision today, as Chief Worth said, we'll begin negotiating an agreement with the J. Angle Group. I will say too, so Mr. Angle, we actually used his firm to do our state mandated performance review that we all had to do last year, and we were very happy with the work and the product. So to Chief Worth's points, the selection committee, the choice was clear. If you looked at the score sheets ahead of time, it was kind of a night and day difference. So But happy to answer any questions, too, if you have any specific.
Any questions?
My question would be, what were some of the major concerns that you heard from your board?
One of the comments was, what happens if we just don't do this? We're just doing this because of one representative. So we kind of had to walk through, again, that fact that we're in this position, but let's be reminded both boards passed a resolution of our intent to do the study, so it may not be a good look if we just stop this now. You could bet fact certain Botana would come immediately back with some legislation, which he'll probably do if we do anything short of full legal consolidation. My guess is he would come back with something to try to push it. A study is going to give us ammunition, whatever the boards decide to do, to be able to speak to that. So we got past that. There was questions about Bonita's involvement in this, and should they be paying for part of this too? And well, this is us. Bonita is not part of this conversation. This is our two agencies taking a look at the feasibility of a merger. So they're not part of this. So it was things like that.
Anybody else?
We appreciate your board's trepidation on this matter.
Yes. One other thing, humorous too, one of the conversation points was, can we table this till next month and let the beach go first? They decided that was not necessary.
Well, we appreciate the reference.
Thank you for
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a little more for the record on the whole thing. A few weeks ago, you each were copied by email. Representative Botana's office had sent out a letter, which we're drafting our response to, basically saying, where are we at with this? Is the study done? We want a copy, or is it not done? So it just highlights that I don't think they understand how long this process takes. We had, so far we're where we are today because we had to advertise for a firm. We came in front of you. We asked for permission to do that. We did our resolution. We came back, permission to advertise. We put together the advertisement, worked collectively together on what that advertisement would include. From there, it was advertised. The firms had to submit their letter of interest. We had an informational meeting where the firms could join in and have all their questions answered so we would get the best product we could. So that's a time piece in the timeline. From there, they had time to prepare their presentations. The next step was to receive them and have the selection committee. The selection committee deliberated, came up with a listing, and from that listing, we're here today to have authorization to negotiate a contract. If we can't do it with the Engel Group, then we go to the second provider. I'm confident we'll be able to come up with something positive. From here, if we can come to an agreement, that contract's going to come back before you guys for approval. Then we start the work. We're looking at an 8 or 9 month time frame estimated to do the legwork and assemble this and see what it shows and come with the final product. Ultimately, if you look at the timelines from where we are today and then into the future, we're in essence using up all the time it would take for us to get to a 2026 ballot. It's going to take time. Assuming that the feasibility study were to even show it's feasible, then there has to be a plan put together. Then it has to go in front of the community to educate the community. So there's a lot of remaining steps that have to happen in order for us to even end up on a ballot in 2026 if that's what everything shows. So it's going to be a long process. I want to thank Iona, Chief Comer and his team for helping us with this and doing a lot of the legwork. And it's just been, it's been a good experience. Being that we've both been thrown into it, it'll be good to have that information. We'll be speaking from a position of knowledge and based on data and where we fall after we're done with this.
I tend to agree, well, I would like to agree with the Iona commissioner who said, no, we're not doing it. But we can't. I mean, Botana's going to come back. Somebody put that he's someone's useful idiot. I mean, the man doesn't have a single thought in my opinion, he has been quoted as saying, when it was like 2 days after the storm, when he delivered communications equipment to the library, that he looked around and everything came into perspective. Now, I've been trying to figure out what do you mean by that? While everyone else was looking at the destruction and trying to find people, Batana, someone told Batana, look at all the money that's coming. We're going to get Fort Myers Beach. This is nothing but a money grab. It should be illegal. I mean, Batana is such a dishonest person. I think he should be in Washington. That's how terrible he is. But I'm all in. We're going to spend $50,000 or whatever. We just got to keep pushing this out as far as we can, and maybe Batana won't be reelected. That's a chance. Unlikely, because everybody in Sanibel likes him, but there's more people here than there are there. That's why I was.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Jackie, anything to add?
I think my feelings are pretty well known. Appreciate Ron's comments. I'd love to ask the representative's office to pay the bill for us, since this was his idea. I think we should make a formal request and see if they can contribute to the cost of this, because we're trying to recover, and it's a cost that frankly was not necessary. And if we're trying to save money, this certainly is spending it in a direction that is not fiscally prudent, but we don't have. So I'd be happy to support the request for reimbursement of funds spent on this study. Thank you.
Jim?
I agree with Jackie. I think they should be contributing. It feels to me like a political decision to proceed with this, rather than a decision based on an apparent problem that needs to be remedied, or an apparent lack of capacity to serve the public adequately. Neither one of those situations exists from where I'm sitting. So I'm left to believe that it's politically motivated. And I would hope that if we can provide a good feasibility study, and that study indicates one way or the other, we would be able to look at that and make reasonable judgments regarding that. I would also hope that Representative Batana would be able to do the same when that study finally comes out.
Thank you. Commissioner Wood?
Want to really thank the Iona McGregor people for their wisdom in going along with this and approving the feasibility study. That's really important. Obviously, it's important to us. They could have done to us what they wanted to do, and your willingness stopped them from doing that. So we're not part of Bonita, at least at this time. So we want to thank you. I'm going to be really interested in the process of the feasibility study itself. How will you get community involved? How will we get our firefighters and our people on both groups together and come up with some plan that will service us all one way or the other. And so I'm interested in that. Just a reminder that if you're going to involve the community, better to choose season than non-season, because there's not too many, at least in my area right now. So anyway, it's unfortunate that all of us were put in this situation, and I don't think it's necessarily political. I think it's just money, and they saw the pot of money that was potentially going to occur after Ian and said, we want it, and he's doing everything he can to get it. So appreciate your support. Thanks.
Chiefs, are you aware of any involuntary mergers of districts in Florida ever?
I believe there's been some in North Florida. part of what's been stated in this initiative is that this has been a direction from the state
Yeah.
to lower the number of districts. And there's a few fire districts, they're volunteer districts up in the northern part of Florida that are going through, that representative, that the district is going through issues with keeping their books and being accountable and stuff. They're volunteer agencies. So there is, I believe they're doing a merger of some districts up there to try and get some accountability in those agencies. Does that carry out statewide? I don't think so. If you look at the career districts, we're doing performance reviews, we're doing financial audits, we're doing, our run times are being submitted and evaluated. So there is a high level of accountability in the way that our districts operate. I've said it before, and I feel like that there might be an assumption that lowering the count of special districts somehow equals savings to the taxpayers. And in our overview of the voluntary mergers that have happened, it's been the opposite. The bigger the government agency, the more it typically costs the taxpayer. So I think by going through this study, if it proves that it is not going to be feasibly beneficial to the taxpayers, then what we've done is provided real data, real information, and it will all forever be there to counter a narrative, if it is the narrative, that a lower count of districts is somehow better for the taxpayers.
Thanks. I'd like to add a few things. The amount of work into putting everything together to get to this point has been significant, and that's a tax on both agencies to provide personnel and time and effort and overtime. I'm assuming most of which is uncompensated at your levels. But again, this is not something we asked for, nor is it something we desire, but we did commit to it. I appreciate the effort and to coming to a choice, and it's obviously a clear choice from what I saw in the scoring. Data is our friend. I mean, whether it's in our favor or against, what we desire, it's what the community deserves. It's what we're here to serve and do. And in the end, it's their decision. I think a forced merger, as it's been proposed at least once or twice in the last year, is a criminal act against the taxpayer to take away their local say-so and their services and what their money goes to and provides for their communities. It's the whole concept of local government. If they start doing this with special districts, what's going to happen to towns and villages and other places? And it was proposed at the same time last year of having a county mayor system, which I think was a stretch, and we saw the county commission's reaction to that. That being said, we've committed to it. We've agreed to this. I don't like the fact that it's taking so much of our efforts from both organizations and money from our taxpayers that, it's not the intended purpose of their tax dollars is to do studies. And I would hope that on the state level there would be some reimbursement since it was at their direction, even though there'll probably be a denial that any of this was forced, because it was never in a resolution, I guess would be the best way to put it. But that being said, I'm willing to do it. I think the taxpayers deserve it. The long-term effects are pretty significant. We're a recovering community. Iona's a recovering community. We were both affected by the hurricane, coming up on 2 years in a few months. And it's important for our communities to know what they have. They deserve the accountability from us. So I have no. It's hard to push forward on something you don't want. That's, but I have no reservations with proceeding forward with the selection. Do we have an approximate cost for our taxpayers in a ballpark figure, or?
We don't, at this point, I anticipate probably $50,000 per agency.
Okay, so $100,000 overall, shared equally. We'll have to approve that at a later meeting after negotiation, but I think The work done by the committee in the selection was outstanding. It really is a testament to how professional both organizations are. And we'll let the data speak for itself. So, any further questions? Any public input? Any input from our good folks in blue? No? Everybody's so happy. All right, if we have no further discussion, do we have a motion to approve the firm for the feasibility study? All right, I'll make the motion.
Make the
I
motion.
motion to approve the fire chief in conjunction with Iona McGregor's chief to proceed with negotiating contract for services with the Jangle Group LLC to study the feasibility of merging the two districts.
I second.
Discussion. Public input. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you. Thanks, Chief. We appreciate your input. All right, now to the exciting topic of mid-year budget. Chief Worth.
So, thank you, Commissioner. Mid-year budget presentation actually represents budget up to the end of March, and I'm going to have the expert in this area run through it for us. So, Jane, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. This is, such a riveting part of, especially on the heels of such a hot topic. So this is a snapshot, as Chief mentioned, halfway through our fiscal year. So these numbers are as of March 31st. So as we go through the revenues and expenditures, we'll compare them in relation to the annual budget. Starting with ad valorem taxes, you can see that we still have almost 12% left to collect. I will tell you, if you fast forward to today, we've collected about 95%. However, historically, we've collected 100% by now. Given the contents and the discussion that we had with the property appraiser's office, I am not hopeful that we will collect a lot of the remaining 5%, but we'll know here in the next month or so, which represents about $400,000. So there could be a $400,000 shortfall. But there is good news a little further down.
Jane, quick question. Well, while we're there, before I forget, is that money not collected by the tax collector basically through non-payment of the property owners?
Correct.
Okay, that's why.
And will that be carried over should the property sell or foreclose?
Yes.
Okay.
They'll sell tax certificates, so eventually we'll receive the money, but it could be a year or two. And it's hard to say, because as the property appraiser updates the valuations as of January 1st, we could see not a large increase. So we might be weathering the storm for a few more years. But again, the soft numbers come out in June, so that's right around the corner. We'll have a little bit better idea, but that, as proven last year, that's not necessarily a hard, fast indicator that it still won't go down in July when they certify the numbers. And some of our neighboring districts have experienced where it further declined a few months later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish I had better news there.
Jane, do you know if the property appraiser is still working through any of the VAB cases?
I believe they are.
Okay,
Yes.
so if people win their cases, could that chip away at that 5%?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when communities or property owner challenges the valuations, those could be some of the outstanding ones too.
Okay.
I think the VAB was actually closed for last year,
Okay.
but they're still working through complaints and people coming forward with additional information. And we know that the property appraiser actually had boots on the ground here on the beach last month.
Month and a half ago, yeah.
Month and a half.
Yeah.
So hopefully they were able to see where some of the condos that they thought previously had not been occupied are actually occupied. So, you know, that's hopeful for some condos, or hopeful for us that they reset the values properly. But again, we'll have a little bit better idea come June 1st. Impact fees, we see there's a negative there. That was a refund that was from a property that decided they weren't going to build on the mainland. So once they sell the property and the new owners decide what they're going to do, there'll be an impact fee associated with that eventually. The town has provided a report. They owe us about $4,000. So we budgeted $40,000 for the year. I think we're going to fall very short of our budget estimates, and I'm sure that's probably due to things taking a bit longer to rebuild than what we originally had hoped for. But it's not a, you know, 40,000 is, if there's a you know, something major like a hotel, I think they talked about developing a parcel on the mainland, that would certainly make up what we think would be the shortfall. Because the impact fees are assessed, for those that are maybe listening online, impact fees are assessed to construction-related projects that would cause the district or other public agencies or governments to have to enhance their services because of that new construction. And so there's a fee assessed with that new construction, and that component goes towards the growth of being able to provide an extra service for that property.
At what stage in the building process, Jane, does the impact fee get levied? At the completion of the project, at the middle, at the beginning? Do you
No,
know?
I believe it's when they issue the permits to do construction.
Okay.
And then if they don't go through with the construction, I think they can request a refund, as we see here, up to 7 years, I think. It's either 5 or 7 years.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Firefighter supplemental income will likely see more revenues than we budgeted. Historically, this state had run out of money in the fund, and so we had been shorted about 40% of the year in fees, inspections, special events. This also includes the building reviews that we do for other districts. Ambulance transports, as you know, we have Lee County's running out of our Station 32, so obviously we don't have you know, the amount of transports that we used to, so that revenue has dropped down, but we'll be over budget there as well. Interest is where we're definitely going to make up for any shortfalls on the line items above. Interest rates remain high, which is unfortunately, it's, you know, not good for people trying to buy homes, etc. In terms of our investments, you know, we're doing very well. Most of our investments are in a conduit that protects the principal, and then there's a small portion of it that is more like, it's in the pooled account, excuse me, from the state. So, and that's earning about 5.5% right now. The other investment where most of our funds are earns slightly less, but there is absolutely no risk there. So we just want to make sure that, you know, we balance those. Miscellaneous revenues, 53,000 of the 58 that you see is from workers' comp refund from last year's audit. So we didn't expend as much in personnel costs, so we were able to recapture that through workers' comp. Loss of compensation for loss of assets. So these, this 31.9 represents insurance proceeds. Now, over the last few months, as you've seen on the investment reports, we've been receiving more from FEMA as it relates to our insurance deductibles. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to recapture the vast majority of the funds that we expended either through insurance or through FEMA. So there you see our total revenues in relation to the annual budget. Negative numbers are good on the revenue side. So we're about almost 41% over budget. As we go down to the expenditures, the reason we're under budget, so we're at the 50% mark. So we're showing 58% personnel. We have some positions, shift positions that we have not filled yet that we're in the process of doing now. So the first, 6-8 months, we had a pickup in there. Also, the HR position and the logistics and facilities position that was budgeted, we haven't replaced that either. So that's why you see a bit of a pickup there. Professional and contractual. So we budgeted $750,000 for our construction professionals, and we will not be expending that through the general fund, and you don't see the $9 million in construction in this report because it's in a separate fund, specifically for the construction of 31 through the generosity of the state grant. So these professional fees, the $750,000 that we budgeted here, will move over into that fund. Communications and freight, we're pretty much on target. Utilities and insurance, we're on target there. The reason that the variance is so low is because we pay for our commercial insurance up front. About 50% of it is included in this number, actually 75%. So that's why that number is low, but we are on track to be right on target for this budget line item. Repairs and maintenance, we're pretty much on track. Miscellaneous operational and administrative, this is kind of a catch-all account for everything that doesn't go somewhere else. And it's everything from flags to awards banquets, which we haven't done this year, so there'll be a pretty big pickup in terms of that line item. Operating supplies and tools, we're on track on this account to expend exactly what we budgeted. The bunker gear is coming up, so that'll be a large expense, but I think we'll be right on target for this line item. Education and training, you see we're a little bit less than 50%, and the reason for that is the $36,000 that we have expended in the Blue Card education program, but that will be directly offset by FEMA. So you'll see the FEMA funds eventually come up into the revenue section to offset this. Other services is, there's a negative there because this is the category that includes recovery expenses for Hurricane Ian. And what you see, the large negative number there is the expenses that have gone out so far for headquarters to fix that facility. The offset of that is going to be in the revenue section where FEMA and the instruments are are offsetting that. So don't be concerned about the $95,000 deficit in that budget account. Capital equipment, we are definitely on target to expend, but not exceed this account. We still have to finish paying for the transfer switches for all the locations, the elevators, 32's roof, and the back bay doors for 33. So we're on target to do well in that account in terms of budget. In debt service, that's such a good budgeting technique. We are like on the mark there, 50%. And then as you come down, you see all of our designated reserves. And we have the actual amounts in the first column, the budget amounts in the second column. And you see as you come down, our fund balance as of October 1st was about $21 million. You add that to the net revenue over expenses, and we're sitting at about $30 million in fund balance. And 14 of which obviously is set aside for reserves. Now the $5 million that you see in the FEMA and state reimbursements into the revenue section will come to the board over the next, before the end of the year with a budget amendment to move that down into reserves. Because obviously that $5 million that we received as a grant from the state was for lost revenues due to Hurricane Ian. So we will likely need that for operational purposes going forward, especially trying to gear up for the new Station 31.
Great.
And with that, do you have any questions?
Anybody?
What's it like working in this building when they're putting a new roof on?
Actually, I wasn't there. Angela, my right-hand gal, said it was pretty noisy. It was very noisy. I went down and worked at the headquarters facility while they were putting the roof on.
I stopped by and there was no naps going on that day.
At one point, apparently, the building was shaking as the crane was setting materials under the roof. But it's done now. It's great.
Awesome. Jim?
No questions.
No.
Great presentation.
Yes,
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Jade, good job as always with keeping us in line with the budget and the dedication you serve to the numbers of the organization of what would be mind-boggling to me had it not been presented in a perfect manner. Chief, any input on the budget?
She does a great job as always. There was a moment where she tried to get me ready to present, and I said, actually, she said, forget it, I got it. No, I
We
appreciate the work she does. It's always, you've seen the clean audits year over year, and it's just, couldn't do it without her, so thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. All right. That takes care of the new business. We're on to Fire Chief remarks.
Very good. Thank you. First, I'd like to highlight the chamber for highlighting the district. So the chamber and their board had their meeting recently and out on the district for 2022, the Outstanding Service Award for the work that all the men and women did in the days and weeks after the storm. I was proud to be there representing the agency and have the award up here if anybody would like to see it, but I'd like to thank the chamber for being an integral partner in what we do, the role they play in the community, and for recognizing us for the service our folks provided during that time. So, second thing, I'll just run through some of the completed projects. Jane just went through the report that takes us up to March 31st. Since then, we have had the rear doors at Station 33 are replaced. So both front and rear doors now have the new coil doors, powder-coated coil doors. The roof at 32 is nearly completed. The transfer switches are all installed. We are waiting on the generator at headquarters. And then all of those items will be tightened up, but our stations are now back on normal systems, so if they lose power, they'll have their backup power. The folks, Romeo was here today receiving an award. He was one of the ones that's been doing the urban search and rescue courses and getting himself trained up. Since our last meeting, those folks did a 80-hour, the largest section of search and rescue, structural collapse. So they spent 80 hours in the summer sun out there going through and training and doing that physical hands-on work. So thank them for that. Also, Commissioner Fleming was present when Joel Martinez won yet another race on the beach a couple weeks ago. So he is, I think he just continues to keep running quicker and quicker. So
He won by more than a minute.
and I understand he got a late start or something that he didn't. I don't know, something about a late start, but yes, he's apparently he's pretty incredible. We are going to have to raise the budget to buy a treadmill more often than normal.
He's wearing them out.
Yeah. So congratulations to him. Proud of the way he represents us. The next thing is I'd like to recognize our folks for their anniversaries. So for April, Captain Chilson has 17 years of service. Chief Arminger has 9 years of service. Firefighter Josh Diappa with 4 years. Firefighter Marlon Marin, who was here today, with 4 years. And then in the back of the room, Fernando Minito was also here with 4 years of service. So recognize those folks for their service to the community. And I'll wrap it up by saying it's been a pleasure and encouraging to attend some ribbon cuttings and some groundbreakings. And just recently attended the groundbreaking for the Whale. So they're going to be coming out of the ground pretty soon. And then 7-Eleven on Pine Ridge reached out and asked if we would join them for their ribbon cutting. So they're up and open and gave us a little insight that the 7-Eleven near headquarters will be one of the next projects that they hit on. And I'm glad to say that station's going to have diesel. So that'll be the first diesel we'll have on the island. And then they're also working on 2 more. We just got the DO for the one across from Lani Kai. So that one's in the works. But yeah, to be able to be a part of the groundbreakings and the ribbon cuttings, it's just, it's a long journey back, but it's happening. So that is my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Jim, you want to start us? Commissioner remarks?
Well, I would say, I noted coming up here today, the incredible amount of construction traffic on the island right now. You have no idea how much is happening unless you get out there and walk around and drive around and see what's going on. It's very, very exciting, I think, to see us starting to come out of the ground again. Ian drove us into the ground, now we got to come back out of the ground. So I think we're doing a great job. And I wanted to thank Jane for a terrific presentation on the budget. And I really wanted to thank Iona McGregor for participating with us in the process that I think is necessary for both, at least our district, and certainly probably both districts, to resolve this matter, at least the questions associated with this matter. And I think our communities, both of them, deserve these answers. And I appreciate you guys' efforts to do that. That's all I have, John.
Great, thank you. Mr. Wood?
Again, thanks to Iona McGregor, and I've already gone over that once, but it deserves repeating, so thank you again. I've decided not to run this next term. My term will end in November, and it's not too late for people on the island to run for that open, which will be an open position. And I know we have a lot of really good people on the island that we hope it's a spirited election and that the best people will come forward. However, I'm still voting for Ron Fleming, so.
Thank you.
But I appreciate all the support that we've gotten over the years and that I've gotten personally. So, and then when I look at the SAVE awards, I think there, but for the grace of God, go I. I mean, that could be me at any point, and I feel much, much better knowing that our people are out there and potentially going to save my life or life of those that I know and love. So thank you to those dedicated people. That's, and Jane, of course, that goes without saying, perfect once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Fleming?
Thank you, Iona, for this journey we're on. It's a waste of time. It's necessary. Jane is always, the budget, our department, or our district doesn't do anything without you telling us where we can spend all our money. This doesn't deserve a SAFE award, or SAVE award, but I was, about 10 days ago or so, I got bit by a snake, and it was yellow and red. Then there's some rhyme. Well, I don't know what the rhyme is. But I was able to catch it. I threw a bucket on top of him, and 32 in Lee County came, and within a second, they said, "Oh, it's this. Don't worry about it."
It's a coral snake, no worries.
It's a palm rat snake. I have a picture. It'd take me a minute to find it. But they were there, and the medics must have been bored. They wanted to take me to the hospital. But thank you for another good meeting. We're moving forward.
Thanks. Jay?
I want to say thank you to the team again with the award from the chamber. The board of directors had a lot of conversation about these awards and how to do them. Of course, we had to do 2 years in one because we didn't have an annual meeting last year. And it just kept coming up over and over again about the professionalism, the compassion, the care, the dedication that our fire team showed to the community, to the residents who stayed, specifically to the folks who stayed, who were completely traumatized. And coming on the island afterwards and looking at their faces, it was like zombies. And our team, I can't tell you how many people reached out and said that our team saw them, talked to them, met with them, touched them, just kind of grounded them a little bit, cared for them in the days and weeks that followed, whether they were here or whether they cut themselves or hurt themselves or whatever, cleaning up debris, et cetera, et cetera. It just kept coming up over and over. And I think a lot of times, yes, it's your job, but I think the men and women who serve our community in the fire capacity don't always get the kudos that they deserve, because they're the front line. They're the one who shows up. And that leads me into mentioning that I've been not on the receiving end of the CPR, I've been the one giving the CPR. I've been in that position, and as a citizen, trying to hold your stuff together while you're trying to save somebody and just keep them stable until rescue can get there, it's terrifying. And they can't come fast enough. The seconds are like hours as you're making sure you're trying to do what you think is the right thing. All the training that you've had slips out of your mind. You're now there kind of going on autopilot, and you just wish those folks would get there faster than they possibly can. So I can appreciate what those folks on pickleball court must have been feeling like. I know the minute they saw our team coming, they had to be like rejoicing, and I know that the family of the person they saved is indebted forever to them, because I know the family reached out to me of the person I did CPR on, and they were just incredibly emotional about it. So I think it's super important we have that training. I would like to see if we can include some first aid training with that as well. I'm happy to help facilitate that and push that information out. The AEDs as well, I think it's really important. And again, thank you to our men and women for what they do every day out there on the street. I think it goes unmentioned enough, and so this was part of that effort. On the other side, a little bit long-winded, but I feel pretty strongly about that. So thank you again for everything you do. You're magical with numbers. I'm so in awe of you and what you do with that. It's, way out of my skill set. So Jen, thank you and your team for getting us up and running as fast as we can. Thank you, Diane McGregor. Good times. What can I say about that?
We're in for a ride.
Yeah, we're in for a ride, but it's okay. We're knowing that we're working together makes that ride actually really interesting, and I won't call it fun, but I do think we need to go back and ask for reimbursement. At least make the request. I don't have any issue with that. I would support that fully, and thank you to your board. Thank you.
Thank you. We're in for a ride, but thankfully we're in the driver's seat. So
Yeah.
that's so we were going to approach this. Thanks, everybody. Great meeting. We had a couple of heavy topics that we discussed pretty in depth before. The one on the study was a little smoother than our last conversation when we had to adopt the resolution. Nobody wanted to make a motion. I remember that vividly.
We all sat.
It was, we're all a little bullheaded when it comes to this topic, and it's a hard one to swallow. But again, if we're going to do it, we're going to drive it, we're going to control it, and we don't have to like it, but it's our responsibility to do it. And I thank Iona for their assistance and being partners in this, and we'll get there. Thank your board for their discussions and leadership as well. If it proves nothing else, it's a testament to how our organizations already work well together. And whether that's through mutual aid or through an imposed project like this, it's a testament to the professionals that you are. So thank you, Jane. Thanks as always. I keep telling Jane that she can never retire, and she promised me that she is. But we could retain her at some point, possibly on contract. But her dedication, knowledge, expertise, her history with the organization are impossible to replace. So it's certainly appreciated to you and your team for everything they do, and to the team in general, the whole district, in keeping us within budget. It's easy to get sidetracked, especially when we have a lot of big projects, a lot of wants that our folks want today, but we have to delay just a little bit to get it tomorrow or maybe in a couple of months. If we stick to our plan, it's the best thing we can do, and that shows in the numbers. So thanks for everybody for their leadership and contributions. Personal side, great job as always. Love watching every one of our folks go to work and get the pleasure of seeing them every now and then while I'm on a bike ride. Or I miss Ron's snake bite, unfortunately. I'd love to have been there for that.
We all would.
The snake
We all would.
Snake bite.
I don't know how that came about, and I'm sure there's a story we'll hear eventually. To Commissioner Wood, I've known him for a lot of years. I'm sad to see him go, to not run, but I fully understand his desire to do so. He's retired, I don't know how many times from how many jobs at this point. If anybody deserves a little freedom and rest easy on his mind for decision making and the burden of what we do, even though it's not a lot of our time, it's always on our minds what this organization does and what we're responsible for. So thank you, sir. I appreciate your leadership and over the years in every aspect of the community. You're not going to be a stranger. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've said if you don't run, we're going to appoint you back if nobody else does.
Oh, Larry, the chamber board has openings in January,
Please, somebody run. And 9 years is enough.
It's a long time. It's a dedication. With that, if nobody has anything else, thanks again. Great meeting. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who came.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank